Here are 5 truths about running a CNC machine in a custom fabrication shop. Number 1, setup time is a silent killer. And what I mean by that is you might have a job that you think takes 2 minutes. You just put it on the laser bed or whatever CNC machine you have. You press a button and it's done in 2 minutes. You may get $100. It doesn't happen that way. You need to set things up. So for instance, for a router, you have to choose the right bit, which diameter, which speed. You have to choose upcut, downcut, whatever. So there's a ton of other things that you might not think you need to take care of, but you do. And if you don't account for that in your pricing, you just screwed yourself. Number 2, CNC machines are only as good as the operator. Now that's especially true again to CNC routers, but it's also true for CNC lasers and plasmas and all the other things. Now the reason for that is because a router is a lot more complicated than the other CNC machines. And the reason for that is because you have basically an infinite bit selection. And they all have different diameters, upcut, downcut, compression, and so forth. And when it comes to a job, you also have to hold it down if you don't have a vacuum table, or if you have a vacuum table, you still need to screw it down because of the material that you're using. So there's a lot of variables involved, and it's not just, again, press a button and it makes it magically. Now the same thing also holds true to a laser, though it's a lot more simple. And what I mean by that is there's no bit selection. So basically the only thing you're playing with is the power and the speed that you're going through it. Now of course you're making smoke and other stuff, so you need to account for that, because the last thing you want to do is laser engrave and cut acrylic all day with your laser and forget to put the vacuum system on. And the reason I know that is because I have a buddy who burned his laser down because he did exactly that. He forgot to turn the vacuum on, he turned around, and when he turned back around, the laser was toast. Now number 3 is actually 2 parts. The first part is when you quote a job, that doesn't mean you have the job. And what I mean by that is, you quote a job, customer says, yeah, everything looks good, go ahead and do it. Did they give a deposit on it? If they didn't give a deposit on it, generally what that means is you're hoping that they pay once you ship the stuff out. Now I have some regular customers that of course I don't need a deposit, they've already paid and that kind of stuff. But for larger projects, absolutely at a minimum ask for 50% deposit. If the customer doesn't have skin in the game, basically all the onus, everything is on you. And if they decide not to pay, well, good luck trying to get that money. That especially happens with big companies as well as small companies. And with big companies, what happens is they lose your invoice, or some manager gets fired or something like that, and they have no record of what you talked about. That's why I like to do everything through email, so I at least have a physical record to go back to the company with and say, hang on a second, here's the project, so and so and so forth. Now the second part of that is that once you quote a job and you get it, make sure you include a timeline, because they might expect the same time. It might take them, let's say you have a 1-month project and it takes them 3 weeks to approve it. Now they might think, hey, okay, well in a week we'll get the project. And no, the timeline for the project starts when you get the deposit, not when they get around to sending you the deposit, or it's not a static number. So again, whenever you give a quote out, give of course how much it's worth for the project, but also say the timeline is based on when I actually receive the money, not on the date of this PO or the quote. Number 4, whatever price you give, that's not the only factor that the customer will be looking at. Now, of course, it is a major factor. Let's say you quote $10 a widget and everybody else is quoting 100. You'll definitely get the job. But what I'm saying is there's always shops that need jobs just to keep the lights on. And they will underbid everything. Even if it costs them money, it's cheaper to do that than to lay off employees because they're waiting for that huge project next month. And what you need to tell the customer is, I need to make a profit margin. I run a business. I need to make some money off of this. And if I can't make money off of this, I have to just not do the job. And you have to be pretty firm on that. Sometimes they come back to you and say, well, you quoted $10, I got a quote for $7. Can you do it for $6.50? And if the numbers make sense, why not? If it's a one-time thing or that kind of stuff. But you don't want to get into a point where the customer is always doing that, because then you basically screwed your profit margins. Now, what are the profit margins for a CNC shop? They're all over the map. Sometimes you make, pennies on the dollar, sometimes you make dollars on the dollars. And it really depends on the volume that you have, how long the customer has been a customer of yours, and how quick they pay. Again, you want a 50% deposit on most big projects, and you don't start until then. But you also have to, keep in mind that you have to buy materials. You don't just press a button on the laser and it automatically finds the lamicoid for you, engraves and cuts it and ships it out. That's all stuff you need to do. So let's say you quote $6 a widget and it costs you $5.50 in materials. You've lost money because, hey, you got to pay that laser off. Lasers are not cheap, especially the industrial ones. Now the fifth point is something I don't see enough shops doing, and again, the mysteries of life. If you have a CNC machine, doesn't matter which one you have fun with it. You know, you might be doing, big industrial jobs, that kind of stuff, day in and day out. But just ask your boss, if you're working for somebody, say, an hour after work, can I stay here an extra hour? I just want to play around with some things. And the boss will rarely say no. Of course, he's not paying you. You're there for an hour learning how to use the machine. Now, where that pays dividends is the boss goes, hang on a second, this guy probably knows the machine better than anybody else. So when the shop gets another machine, guess who's going to have first dibs on it? The guy who likes to have fun with machines. It's incredible what these CNC machines can do. 100 years ago, this was not even fathomable. Like it's astonishing. The shop that I run now, as one person, I think you need about 10 to 15 people to do it 100 years ago. And there'd all be little hammers and chisels and all that kind of stuff. Or projects just wouldn't be possible. So that's incredible. So think in 100 years from now what they'll be using. They'll have machines that just blow your mind. But if you want to enjoy the process of CNC machining, read about it and also play around with it. That's how you learn. Generally, when it comes to CNC machines, the company that you buy the CNC machine with, they'll drop it off at your door, or you'll get riggers, of course, to bring it into your shop. They won't do that. And then it's up to you to figure it out. It's really hard to figure out things when you have a deadline and you have a job that must be done at this time using this material. If you spend a couple hours every day, just play around with it. And it builds up your confidence, it improves your design skills for the machine, and ultimately it allows you to do jobs faster because you know that machine inside and out. And that's what you want to go for. So if you have any other questions, contact me at CNCKing.com, or you can read my book.